Hey there, I'm Michael Williams, your island chef. Welcome to my kitchen. Today, we're going to be working on some delicious holiday appetizers. Give you some tools to take care of your friends and family over the coming weeks. So, we're going to start it off with a chard and chickpea fritter, really delicious. From there, we're going to move on to a ricotta stuffed eggplant roll, roasted in tomato with Parmesan cheese. And then we're going to finish it off with a smoked salmon cream cheese, and I'm going to show you a few different ways to use that. I can't wait to get started. So, we're getting started on the batter for our chickpea fritters, our chard and chickpea fritters. We've got a couple of eggs in the bowl already. And what I'm gonna do is grab about a quarter cup. Now, I've already stirred this up. A good coconut milk always separates. You get the nice thick, rich cream on top and the watery stuff on the bottom. So this is stirred up so we get some of both in there. Okay, we'll get a quarter cup of that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to whisk that together, and then we're going to stir some chickpea flour into it after that. So give it a good whisk. Try and incorporate that coconut milk as much as you can right to start. Okay, now we're going to grab our chickpea flour, and we're going to get about a quarter cup of that as well. And we'll stir that in. And this is going to be the base of our batter. We have whisked our coconut milk into our eggs and then our chickpea flour into that. Now I'm going to mash some chickpeas into the mixture. So now what we're going to do is mash with our pie cutter the chickpeas into the batter. And this will just help thicken it up a little bit, and at the same time chop the chickpeas up, you know, just so they're not quite as big. So just so they're kind of, you know, cut in half. And that's looking pretty good. Perfect. So now, all we need to do is add a little bit of flavor into our batter. And how are we going to do that? With a little bit of salt, a little bit of turmeric, and some cumin. Let's get into the spice drawer. I'm actually just going to grab these four. I think we'll go with some pepper as well. So let's get our salt. Just going to do a half a teaspoon of each. And our cumin. And you saw I grabbed the pepper as well. Now, a lot of nutrition experts say that pepper increases all the health benefits of the cumin that you've heard probably so much about. So that's why we're going to throw them together and mix this up. So there we go. After all that hard work, let me tell you, our batter portion is ready to go. Now, you could do it dead simple and just cook up our fritters just like that, but I want to add some extra vegetables to it. Okay, so let's cut up some onion. So we're going to start by, as usual, cut the top and bottom, cut her in half, and then get that peel out of the way. And we'll just need half an onion for this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut so that I'm going to get a nice fine dice. And obviously my nice sharp chef knife makes a difference here. But you can see how many levels I cut into there. And now I'm going to make many cuts this way. And then I'm going to make my final cut, and we've got a nice small diced onion. You can do it a little bit larger, that's no problem. Give us some breathing room here, and then we'll cut up some jalapeno. Now remove the seeds and the veins if you don't want it too spicy. I don't mind. What I'm going to do here is just, because we're sauteing the jalapeno, I'm going to leave it in big chunks like that. Maybe a little bit more. Good. And a little bit of garlic as well, a couple cloves of garlic. All right, so I'm just going to roughly chop my garlic as well. So we're gonna end up with some nice big chunks of garlic in our fritter in the end, which I love. Get our garlic peels separated. That's ready for a chop. That's ready for a chop. And you can do more garlic if you like. I usually do. We're just gonna slice, maybe cut those bigger pieces in half. The idea being is they're about the same size as our diced onions and jalapenos for that matter. There we go. Okay, now I've got a pan that's already hot, so I'm gonna scoop up my veggies and just throw them in the pan all together. A little bit of oil, veggies, there we go. Now, we're gonna move on to our next vegetable that we're gonna add to the pan as well. And we couldn't have chard chickpea fritters without chard, right? Not only is this vegetable very, very nutritious, but it's gonna add some beautiful color and texture to our chickpea fritters. So I've done my cuts this way. Now I'm just gonna chop this way and we'll end up with some nicely diced chard. So once our veggies have caramelized a little bit and softened up a little bit, then we can add in our chard, which really only takes about, 20 seconds to cook and wilt. I'm gonna add just a touch more oil before we get our chard in there. And I think we can add it now. Okay, we'll just give that a stir. Wait for our chard to wilt down a little bit. And then this mixture will be ready to be added to our batter. Get this out of the pan. And we'll leave our pan on. I'm just gonna mix this vegetable concoction into our batter. And we'll be ready to go back and start cooking those up. So this can go right in warm, and then we'll be able to stir it all together and fry up some fritters. All right, so we need to get some fat in the pan. I just happen to have a little bit of leftover bacon fat here, but if you're gonna use butter or oil, whatever, it's all good. And that should be good. All right, so now you just take a scoop, place it into the pan, and this is a rustic thing, It does not need to be a perfectly formed little shape. Nice and rustic is the way I like to do it. So after 3 or 4 minutes on the second side, you're ready to plate these up. Go. So, beautiful, wonderful, tasty as is, but I really like to finish them off with something special. What is it? Well, I've got some water buffalo yogurt here. Yeah, not cow yogurt, not cow dairy, but water buffalo. And we're just gonna put a little dollop of this on top. So this beautiful yogurt is made from the dairy of water buffaloes on a farm up in Comox Valley, and it just finishes these fritters off perfectly. A little bit of that and a little bit of color maybe, and a bit of a spice kick, and some chili flakes. Wow, all right, my mouth is watering. Can't wait. Oh, it's so good, just bursting with flavor. Like, you can see how nicely it holds together because of the egg binding it. That yogurt on top just mellows everything out and adds a nice rich creaminess. All right, so let's get cracking on our ricotta stuffed eggplant rolls. Now, in order to make some ricotta stuffed eggplant rolls, we do need some ricotta. Got a nice island produced ricotta cheese here. We're gonna put the whole tub into our mixing bowl, and then we're gonna incorporate some different things into it. What are those things? Well, first, what I wanna do is saute some onions and garlic so that we can add that to the mix. Okay, so we're gonna start with chopping up an onion. All right, so let's get this nice and finely diced. That being because it's going to be going into our ricotta, and if it's kind of big and chunky, it's going to hamper how smooth our ricotta mix kind of comes together. So, lots of cuts into our onion. And you know, if you're not comfortable with this technique, I've shown you already once today, you can always just chop away until you get a nice finely diced onion. And I think we probably only need about a half an onion again. There we go. All right, so let's get our onions on our plate here, and then we'll chop up some garlic. A little shortcut to peeling garlic there. How do you like that? You just want to give it a push until you hear that pop. And then it's already peeled for you. All right, so let's get our onions and garlic into the pan. And want to get them very lightly browned. All right, so while those are browning, we're gonna chop up a little bit of fresh rosemary. So after about 3 or 4 minutes, our onions have softened up, started to caramelize a little bit. We're ready to add in our rosemary. And we just want to give the rosemary a bit of a flash in the pan, 30 seconds or so. So this can go right into our ricotta. And that's just going to bring in some wonderful flavor, the onions and the garlic and the rosemary. Okay, and now we're going to add a few other things to that. We're going to do a little bit of egg. So now you have a choice. You can either do the whole egg, which gets you, you know, with the egg white in there, kind of a little bit more of a firm texture, and it really sets the cheese up when you bake it. Or you can do it just the egg yolk, which gives you a little bit of a softer, more delicate creaminess. So it's up to you what you want to do. I kind of like it with just the egg yolk. And this is how I separate my eggs. I just grab it. Okay, and then we'll stir that in. We'll season this up. A little bit of salt and pepper. And if you want to give it a bit of spice, a touch of cayenne pepper is nice. Okay. All right, that mix looks beautiful. Now, we're going to move on to our eggplant. So, for me, ideally, I like to get my eggplant sliced as thin as possible. What we're trying to do is get a nice thin sheet of eggplant, which we can then roll our ricotta in. So it takes a little bit of knife skills to get it nice and thin and even, but if you do it a little bit thicker, it works too. And so it's just something that you can practice and work on. Having a nice sharp chef knife makes a big difference. So I start on this end, try to get my knife all the way through, and then just pull it back. So just about 15 seconds aside, I've still got my pan on medium heat, and this just it just softens them up a little bit so that we can roll them a little bit easier. Otherwise, they're just not very flexible. So that's the whole point of this little exercise here. So depending on how thick your particular slices are, anywhere from like 45 seconds to just over a minute in the pan total is what you're looking at to get your eggplant nice and soft. So I'm just going to take a scoop of my lovely ricotta mix. And if you're doing this for a big dinner party, lots of people coming over, obviously we would have all of our our eggplant done already. And then you just roll it up and you see we've got a bit of a break here, but not a big deal at all, not a problem. Because once we get to there, that's looking pretty good. Okay, so if it's not perfect, oh, this one's a little bit firm, but we're gonna make it work. Okay, and then you can kind of, stuff the ricotta back in a little bit if you need to. And now that's ready to go into our baking dish. All right, so just to give you an idea of how this comes together, we're gonna got a nice little homemade tomato sauce here and have a nice, kind of half-inch layer of tomato sauce for us to place our ricotta stuffed eggplant onto. And if we were doing a bigger batch, we'd have a nice big long casserole dish. And then to finish it off, a little bit of Parmesan cheese grated on top. The real stuff, the Parmigiano Reggiano. Okay, and maybe as an option, some breadcrumbs as well, just to give it a bit of a crunch. So that is now ready to go into a 375-degree oven for about 25 minutes. And in that time, the ricotta mixture sets up because of the egg in it, either the egg yolk or the whole egg, whatever you like. And we end up with a nice brown top and very, very delicious appetizer. I've got one ready already. Let's take a look. Take a look at that. Whew. All right, it's time to dig into this and have a taste. Tomato sauce, happy ricotta filling, all encased in a beautiful little sheet of eggplant. And it works so nicely. All right, so the last recipe of the day. Let's get cracking on that. Got all kinds of great ingredients here. So instead of just cream cheese and bagels, we're gonna add some wonderful flavors into our cream cheese. Some shallot and ginger and caper and chopped dill, a little bit of lemon, and some candied salmon. Wonderful, wonderful spread this turns out into, and I'll show you a couple different ways to use it once we get there. First off though, we need to start with our cream cheese. So we're gonna mix this cream cheese spread in our handy countertop mixer here. And we're gonna start it off by kind of whipping our cream cheese and making sure it's nice and fluffy. Okay, so we'll fire this up. So you want to just get that whipped up and nice and smooth. Get a little bit of air incorporated into it. Maybe let it go for about 4 minutes or so. So that was about 4 minutes or so. Our cream cheese is nice and fluffy, and it's ready for us to add some other ingredients to it. So let's get into that. We're going to do up some ginger and shallots, like I said. So I'm going to start with the ginger, and I've washed this really well. So all I'm going to do now is just tidy it up a little bit. Make sure we don't have any spots where there's dirt trapped, that kind of thing. Okay, and then once we're happy with our ginger, we've got it nice and cleaned up. Bit of a blemish there I'll get rid of. I'm going to leave the rest of the skin on and start chopping away here. Now, here we have something a little bit dangerous. I could have an accident with that ginger the way it's rolling around on the cutting board. But now it's nice and stable. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I've had a little bit of practice. I can do it fairly quickly, but I want to cut it as thin as possible. And it's really important. So, if your knife skills aren't as practiced, then just really take your time, and it doesn't matter how long it takes you. Just try to get it as thin as you can, even if it's just like that. Okay, and then once you get roughly a tablespoon's worth, then line up your slices this way, and we'll do a second cut. So these fine little juliennes are going to be enough that they're present and there in our cream cheese, but not too powerful. And I think I might have said a tablespoon, but we're just going to go with about a teaspoon into our smoked salmon cream cheese. Okay, and we'll do up some shallots as well. Same thing, just, a teaspoon, maybe a little bit more would be okay with the shallots. but we're gonna get it nice and thin so that it can blend into our cream cheese and not be too powerful. And that should probably do us there. Okay, next up, some lemon. So we want to get some zest and some juice out of this. So let's get some zest going first. Now, really important when we're zesting is that we don't get into the white part of the rind. We only want that very outside layer of the lemon, the very yellow part of it. Because as soon as we start getting into the white, we start getting into the bitter. And we don't like that. Not today anyways. And you see how I'm just constantly rotating. And then I'll go back over. Oh, I missed a spot there. Might as well get the whole, whoop, lost it. Zest out of this guy. There, that should be good. All right, so let's get our zest in. And our juice as well. So I'm just gonna squeeze the juice out and catch any seeds that might fall. And I think half of the lemon will be good. Grab some fresh dill. And remove the thick stem parts. You see how easy you can just kind of peel it back. We want to get rid of the thick stems. And then just hold on to the nice delicate ends. Give it a bit of a choppy chop before it goes into the mixer. All right, so let's get a head start on our salmon. Got the maple salmon, the maple sockeye nuggets here. And what I'm gonna do is just chop those up as well, give them a bit of a head start so we don't have to strain our mixer. Okay, great. So let's get this great salmon into our mix. Fire this up. And I'm gonna turn it on low just to get it started. Oh, and guess what else? Forgot the capers. So I'm just gonna get about a tablespoon's worth of them and get them in there. Maybe a heaping teaspoon, let's call it that. And we'll season it up with a little bit of salt, pepper, and some coriander. And this is coming along nicely. It's looking really good. So a couple different ways we can approach the bagel. Now, of course, we could just do toasted like so. Something else we could do though, nice little trick here. You take this home and do it yourself. Just cut some little rounds, and what we can do is take them, put them on a baking sheet, maybe drizzle a little bit of olive oil, season them if you like, and you end up with these neat little bagel crisps. And all you need to do from that point is, again, a little drizzle of olive oil, some salt, pepper, bake them at 375 for about 10 to 15 minutes until that you can see that they're browned. Let them cool and you've got delicious little bagel crisps. So this is pretty much ready to go. You could let it go a little bit longer, you know, and have everything kind of mashed up a little bit better. All right, so let's just go ahead and pretend that these bagels are toasted. Okay, finish a little bit of garnish to finish that off. Maybe a slice of lemon. I'm telling you, this looks fantastic. I have to admit, I've had this before, and I know it's delicious, but I love every time making this recipe. And oh look, we ended up with a little bit of extra there that can just go right there. I'm gonna give this a try. Tastes delicious. There's so much flavor, you know, creaminess, the The ginger comes through just a little bit. The capers, everything plays a little bit of a part in creating a really, really flavorful spread. So, smoked salmon dill cream cheese. There we go. So, we worked our way through 3 delicious holiday appetizers geared towards taking care of your friends and family. You've got some great tools there. What did we work on today? Well, we started off with the chard and chickpea fritters. Really delicious, simple, easy to throw together, beautiful presentation. From there we moved on to the ricotta eggplant rolls. Really, really tasty, very, rich with the tomato sauce and the ricotta cheese, the rosemary. Love that dish. And then we finish it off with a really tasty smoked salmon dill cream cheese. If you want the details on them, you can get them from countrygrocer.com. They're there for you, along with hundreds of others. And with that, I'm going to say thanks for being with us, and see you next time.